The Legend of King Arthur. There was once a great and powerful king in Britain. His name was Uther Pendragon. He knew an old magician who often helped him. This magician's name was Merlin. Nobody really knew who Merlin was or where he came from. King Uther Pendragon loved a beautiful young woman, and one day he married her. They had a son to follow Uther Pendragon as king. When the child was born, Merlin came to Uther Pendragon and said, "My king, soon you will die, and after you die, all the lords will start to fight for your land. Your child will be in great danger. Give him to me. I will protect him until he is old enough to become king." The king was not very happy when he heard this, but he said, "Everybody must die one day, and I have had a long life. Take the child, Merlin, and do what you think is right." Merlin took the child, and everything happened as he said. Soon the king died, and dark and terrible years followed. The lords started to fight each other, as they all wanted to be king. People were no longer safe. Armies rode through the country, burned villages, and killed men, women, and children. This went on for 18 long years, until it became clear that the country needed a king to bring peace again. So Merlin asked all the lords to come to a meeting. They came from all parts of the country. "We will have a new king soon," said Merlin, "a king who will be more powerful than all the kings before him, and this is how you will know him." Suddenly, a large stone appeared on the ground. In this stone there was a beautiful sword. "The man who pulls this sword out of the stone," said Merlin, "will become king." The news went through the country very quickly, and soon all the strongest and most powerful men came to Merlin. Every man tried to pull the sword out of the stone, but nobody could move it. Then Merlin fetched a young man. He took the sword in his hands, and it came out of the stone easily, like a knife from butter. "This is Arthur, your young king," said Merlin. "He is the son of your last great king." When the knights and lords heard this and saw the young man, they did not want to believe that he was now their king. Many did not accept him and rode away. So again there was war, and for the next few years Arthur rode through the country and fought the lords until everybody accepted him as the real king. Everybody except one man, the Black Knight. The Black Knight lived in a castle in a dark and deep forest where no other people lived. He was the last knight that Arthur fought, and the strongest. When Arthur arrived, the Black Knight rode out of his castle on his huge black horse and started to fight the king. They fought all day until both men were too tired to stand. Then Arthur's sword broke, and the Black Knight saw his chance to kill the king. He lifted his sword, but at that moment Merlin appeared and touched the Black Knight on the arm. The Black Knight fell to the ground and slept. "It's not time for you to die yet, Arthur," said Merlin. "My sword broke," said Arthur. "Then you need a new sword," said Merlin. "Come with me." And he took Arthur through the forest until they came to a large lake. It was quiet there, and everything was very beautiful. The flowers, the trees, the sun, the sky, and the water. It was so different from the rest of the country. Suddenly Arthur saw a beautiful woman who was walking towards him. "Where are we?" he asked. "You are in a fairy country," she said, "in a land that other people cannot see. Why are you here?" "I need a new sword," said Arthur, and before he could say more, a long white arm came up through the water of the lake. The hand held the most beautiful sword he could imagine. "This," said Merlin, "is Excalibur. No sword that men have made can beat Excalibur. Take it, it is yours, but only use it in times of war or when you are in a terrible danger. And when you die, you must give it back to those who give it to you now." Arthur took the sword from Merlin, and together they left the fairy country. Arthur went back to the Black Knight, and no matter how hard the Black Knight tried, he could not beat Arthur and Excalibur. At last Arthur won, and the Black Knight fell to his knees and accepted Arthur as the true king. From then on, there was peace in the land for many years. Arthur fought another terrible battle at the end of his life. It was near the lake where Arthur first saw Excalibur. Arthur was badly injured. He knew he was dying, So he asked one of his men to take his sword and throw it into the lake. The man went to the water, but when he looked at the sword, he decided to keep it for later kings. He kept it and went back to Arthur. "What did you see?" asked Arthur. "The moon in the water," said the man. "You haven't done what I said," answered Arthur. Again the man went to the lake, and again he stopped. "And what did you see this time?" Arthur asked the man when he came back. "The dark and quiet water," said the man. "Why don't you do what I ask?" said Arthur. "Are a few jewels on a sword so important to you?" The man went to the lake for the third time, and this time he threw the sword high into the air over the lake. At once a hand came out of the lake and caught the sword when it fell. A boat then appeared on the water and came towards Arthur. The woman carried him into it, and with the moon high in the sky, they sailed over the dark water to the fairy island of Avalon. Legends say that he and his knights are still there. They are sleeping inside a deep hill. If Britain is ever in danger, Arthur will come back with his army and save the land. In Glastonbury Abbey in Somerset, there is a place that may be the grave of King Arthur. 1,000 years ago, the land near Glastonbury was surrounded by water, and so the area was possibly the island of Avalon.